Uh, we are together with CIA Secretary General Dr. Diana Wernisch and CIA Vice President Standards Mr. Peter Thorns to meet with you with Turkish lighting industry companies and which is hosted by the Turkish National Committee on Illumination and the Lighting Fixtures Manufacturers Association. So welcome to our meeting. And we hope that this informative meeting will introduce corporate members to the CIA Global Network and highlight the importance and benefits of supporting membership. Attendees will learn how CIA membership can support the growth and international reach of our companies. So firstly, I would like to give floor to our president, Turkish National Committee on Illumination, Professor Dr. Rengin Ünver.
Thank you. I am Rengin Ünver, President of Turkish National Committee on Illumination. On behalf of our committee and myself, I would like to welcome you, and I present my love and respect all of you. As mentioned, dear Professor Banu Manav, this event organized by Turkish National Committee on Illumination, briefly ATMK, and the Light and Fixture Manufacturer Association, AGİD, with the contribution of the Commission Internationale de l'Éclairage, CIE. Today, we have two distinguished speakers. CIA Secretary General Dr. Diana Wernisch and CIA Vice President Standard Mr. Peter Thorns. Before moving on the speech, I would like to briefly introduce our committee. The Turkish National Lighting Committee was founded in 1995, and the next year, in 1996, we joined the CIA and began representing Turkey internationally. Today, we have a total of 109 members, including 79 corporate members and 92 individual members. Main objectives of ATMK are to gather the employees in the Turkish lighting sector, raising and sharing information and creating awareness like CIE. In parallel with this purpose, over years, we have organized 4 international and 30 national lighting congress, supported many scientific meetings and workshops, and also conducted 16 national lighting seminars. To conclude, I would like to thank dear Diana and dear Peter once again. Welcome. I wish you, all of us, a fruitful meeting and successful collaboration for Turkey lighting sector and CIE. Yes, thank you. I think you will present the Banu speakers.
Yes, hocam. I'm just checking if Fahir Bey has attended, but I think not yet. When I think he will be with us, maybe he would like to say a few things or express his views. So let me introduce one of our special guests, Diana Wernisch. She will present you. She will make a presentation titled Introduction to the CIA's Role in Science and in Standardization and Opportunities for Linking the CIA. Let me say a few words to introduce her as well. Dr. Diana Wernisch joined the CIA in 2023 when she was appointed Secretary General of the organization. She has a background in business administration, science management, and international collaboration, and has held various leading positions in these fields over the past 15 years. In her role as Secretary General of the CIA, she is representing the organization and its members, around 40 national committees globally, is a member of the CIA Governing Board, and heading the CIA's Central Bureau in Vienna. She acts as liaisons to the CIA's partner organizations, such as the standardization bodies ISO and EAC, as well as to organizations such as LUCI, EALD, UNESCO, WTO, and EAI. And the floor is yours, Diana.
Thank you very much, Banu, for this introduction. And first of all, I would like to say thank you to the Turkish National Committee, ATMK, and to AGİD for organizing this event and this meeting. And also thank you very much to all of the Turkish companies which are represented here today already now for your interest in the CIE. And we hope that this meeting will even strengthen our relations and our cooperation and networking between Turkey and the CIE. So I will start my presentation. Which you should see now in full screen mode. All right. As Banu already said, I would like to say a few words on the CIE's global role and especially present opportunities as relevant for companies to link to the CIE. First of all, a short introduction to who is the CIE today. We were founded in 1913 in Paris. We are currently based in Vienna since a few decades already, and CIE has a global membership community. The CIE today stands as the global authority in light and lighting, and we are driving the consolidation of knowledge and setting the standards for light measurements and applications. What is special about the CIE is that CIE is a multidisciplinary scientific organization, plus we are also a standardization organization. And this combined role actually allows us to play our role in laying the foundations for industry, design, and human well-being from a comprehensive perspective. Important for the CIE is also that CIE works across the full range of topics in light and lighting, covering scientific fundamentals such as vision and color, the metrology, but also photobiology, photochemistry, and of course, lighting applications indoors and outdoors, and also image technology. CIE has a very distinct community. Its community and audience actually spans research, labs, industry, regulators, and governance institutions or organizations. And this way, we are also able to bridge gaps like no other organization in light and lighting can globally. CIE is also a publisher, and we're engaged in the distribution and publication of authoritative knowledge. And of course, it's important for us to provide a platform for exchange and learning for the global light and lighting community. And then I would like to continue with giving you a brief overview of CIE as such a scientific and standardization organization, which is defining to the CIE. As a scientific organization, it's very important for the CIE to implement means that support research in the field and which drive the advancement of the field. The CIE research strategy is the global agenda for light and lighting, and it introduces topics that should be studied today in order to establish the knowledge needed for the next generation of standards and reports. I will not go into detail here. Our Vice President Standards, Peter Thorns, will present a few more details and how this links to standardization later in the meeting. As a scientific organization, networks in science and research are just the basis and very important for us as an organization. And this is, of course, because science and research in light and lighting also serve as the basis for future innovations and for innovative applications in the field. As a scientific organization, CIE is a full member of the International Science Council, and this connects us closely to the work of other scientific organizations worldwide. for example, from optics to remote sensing, to astronomy or to biology, the complete spectrum. And CIE is also deeply connected to current research and innovation projects which can provide the basis for future innovative applications. And I've just copied a few of the current research projects here that the CIE is a stakeholder in or is in some ways supporting and has our experts contributing to those projects. As a standardization organization, CIE is known for really working on the fundamentals in the field of light and lighting. One very important example and also a very important publication and core to the field is the ILV, the International Lighting Vocabulary. That's the CIE Standard 017. It's available in print and also as an electronic version on the CIE website. The ILV is also integrated into the IEC Electropedia. So if you visit the IEC Electropedia, you have the CIE terminology also fully integrated. And it's also being developed, for example, in the future, that's very soon to come, we will include a new section of the terminology specifically on horticultural lighting, which becomes more and more important. Another example is that CIE collaborates with the CIPM, who is the committee who defines the SI units of the International Metric System, and we're responsible for the foundations of physical photometry worldwide. In standardizations, cooperation are also very important to us. We have partnership agreements with ISO, IEC, and also with CENELEC. I am also not going into details here because, again, our Vice President Standards, Peter Thorns, will speak to this in more detail. As well, collaboration with further organizations is very important to us, especially to those organizations which also have a guidance or regulatory role in the system. For example, we maintain very good contacts with different sections of the International Energy Agency and with different programs that they have, such as the Annex in Solid State Lighting or the Solar Heating and Cooling Program, that's the name. We also maintain very good relations to LUCI, that's the Lighting Urban Communities International, the World Health Organization, to the International Association of Lighting Designers, or the GDP in automotive lighting, just to show you the breadth of organizations that we are connected to. As a publisher, that's also an important role of the CIE. As a publisher, the CIE aims to publish trustworthy foreground, and that's what we stand for. The CIE publishes authoritative, well-established knowledge, and our goal is always to publish only that knowledge which other organizations and industry can actually reliably build upon and base their actions upon. CIE is a publisher of scientific and of technical foreground. As I've mentioned, we publish international standards. We also publish technical reports and technical notes. Another category that we publish are CIE's position papers, which are published on specific topics of public interest. We also have open access data sets, which always link to specific publications, but the data sets are available free of charge. And another category are scientific proceedings, which stem from our conferences and symposia. All of the CIE's publications are either available on the CIE webshop if they are for sale. Members get a 66.67% discount, so quite a large discount. And the publications which are free of charge are available on the website. And finally, CIE is also a networking and learning platform for the community. We have the thematic events that the CIE organizes in light and lighting. For example, we have practice-based and learning-oriented CIE workshops and tutorials. For example, we have one upcoming tutorial on a new CIE technical report on the assessment of discomfort glare from daylight in buildings, and it's upcoming in late spring 2025. On an irregular basis, we also hold symposia on specific topics to discuss latest research. And we have scientific and community meetings where the global community, the research-based community gathers, where we cover the full breadth of CIE topics. That's the scientific conferences and meetings of the CIE, which take place every 2 years. Again, CIE members are eligible for a discounted member rates for all CIE official events. And just for in general, it's important to know that the CIE is a very welcoming expert community, and I think for any professional, it's also a helpful network of professionals that you can turn to if you are well connected in the CIE community. And in addition, CIE also strives to be a place in a community for young researchers and for young professionals transitioning into the field. And we also are an organization providing the basis for anyone who to have good knowledge when he goes into the field, and also a good network, of course. And I would also like to take the opportunity to invite you to the Vienna conference, which takes place in July this year. This is one of the biennial meetings that I've just mentioned. Every 2 years, CIE has a large conference where really the complete community gathers. It's a scientific conference at the core, but also general assembly meetings, division and technical committee meetings, all in all for 8 days. But the scientific conference is for 3 days. So then the next part of the presentation. In this part, I would like to speak a bit more of how the CIE is organized and how specifically companies can join the community. First of all, it's important to understand the technical organization of the CIE. The CIE's technical work is organized in 6 thematic CIE divisions. The 6 divisions are Division 1, Vision and Color, Division 2, Measurement of Light and Radiation, Division 3, Interior Environment and Lighting Design, Division 4, Transportation and Exterior Applications, Division 6, Photobiology and Photochemistry, and Division 8, Image Technology. And to all of these 6 divisions, each CIE National Committee can send voting delegates per division. The divisions themselves work on the advancement and the thematic coordination within their field, but also across the divisions and with other organizations. And they are the ones proposing new work items for future CIE publications, so for the future CIE standards, reports, and technical notes. And these are then developed in so-called CIE technical committees. In technical committees, it's really the experts on this specific topic working together with the aim, usually at the end, to produce a publication, an official CIE publication. And in total, around 2,000 experts collaborate in the CIE and in joint committees with our partners. And basically, anyone who is a distinguished expert in a specific field and can contribute to a technical committee is basically welcome to apply for a membership in a technical committee and assist in the work there. In terms of how we are structured, it's also important that CIE is a member organization. And just to make that clear and understandable, I think maybe it's also important to say that in the divisions and the experts working for the CIE are voluntary experts from the organizations wherever they are employed, academia or in industry, and they could contribute their knowledge to the CIE. As a member organization, the CIE is organized in 38 currently CIE national committees and associate national committees. One of them is the Turkish ATMK. Plus, we have around 20 affiliate members. That's a specific status for members from developing economies. A special category of memberships that we have, in addition to the national committees, the associate national committees and affiliates, which are country-based and country-organized, are CIE supportive memberships. The CIE supportive memberships are a distinct membership category, which is of interest in particular for companies and organizations wishing to connect closely to the CIE. It offers different reputational, technical, and innovation-related, as well as networking benefits, which I will introduce in a bit more detail in a minute. Basically, we have the basic silver and gold status, which refer each to different benefit levels. Those benefits include, for example, promotional opportunities, getting a copy of new CIE publications, early access and commenting on draft documents, or access to CIE divisional and organizational meetings. The silver and gold supportive memberships are usually most interesting, in particular to companies who want to be in technology leadership or are in technology leadership and have well-functioning research and development departments and also linked to this sector. Currently, we have in total above 20 members, or 20 plus members. And on this slide here, I have also copied our members who are currently in silver and gold status. So a few more details about the CIE's basic supportive membership. As a basic supportive member of the CIE, one of the benefits, of course, is that you can associate your company's name with the CIE. You are entitled to use the CIE logo, Basic CIE Supportive Membership, which you see on the right-hand side of the slide. And of course, also you get the member certificates and you also can use that. An opportunity which you can be taken is also to create promotional value by being featured in and or linking to CIE media. For example, we have a currently very active LinkedIn account. We can share posts and also, of course, we publish the status of a company there. The status of a supportive membership company is also always published permanently on the CIE website. We can include it in a newsletter, and all supportive members usually also get special rates when, for example, we are calling for sponsors of CIE events as compared to other companies. In addition, once in a year, every supportive member is entitled to publish an article of around 2 pages, introducing the organization and highlighting any technical achievements. That would be in the CIE newsletter, which appears quarterly. And in general, it's just an opportunity to connect closer, as I said, to the CIE. Supportive members are added to CIE mailing lists, which is not the newsletter mailing list, but the more organizational mailing list with up-to-date information coming from the organization. So that's broader. And in terms of connecting to the CIE, it's just also important to know that supportive members are eligible to attend divisional and general assembly meetings, of course on a non-voting basis, because the voting members are always the national committees. And supportive members are also invited to further meetings. For example, since last year, we are having once or twice in a year Q&A sessions with members from the CIE board, and it's just an opportunity to connect closely to the leadership teams on the division level or on the board level, on the global level of the CIE, and getting into the community even deeper than with a regular membership status, so to say, and use that for your purposes. Then we have the CIE Silver Supportive Memberships, and here I'm just listing the additional benefits that you could take from such a silver status. Of course, you use the silver status logo with the related promotions. But what's really important here as a next step is that as a silver supportive member, the company has access to CIE draft publications, for example, to standards and reports. As they are being developed and before they are being published, you will hear in a minute how CIE publications are established and published or developed. There's the balloting and development process. And as a supportive member, even without being active as an expert in a technical committee of the CIE, the company has an opportunity to see the drafts as they are developing and also to provide comments to the CIE technical committee on what might still be needed in this document. Again, of course, this commenting is on a non-voting basis, but because the voting members are always the official division delegates from the national committees that I have just mentioned before. The silver supportive membership status can also be very well used to build a comprehensive CIE library of publications, because CIE supportive members receive a free copy of all new publications that the CIE publishes. On average, we publish around 10 to 15 publications each year, and this includes a free copy of CIE standalone documents, but also of the dual logo CIE publications. For example, if it's an ISO CIE standard, that's also included. And in addition, as a silver supportive member, you also have exploitation rights for internal use of CIE publications. That means for the internal documentation to share in the company, for example. And then finally, as a gold supportive members, you have some additional benefits. You, of course, have the gold level status and promotions. We also have some additional preferred promotional options and benefits. You can publish a longer article in the CIE newsletter. And there is also some sometimes we have special benefits for our gold members. For example, for the next conference, the gold members are invited to the gala dinner of the CIE conference on the invitation of the CIE. And that's also an additional opportunity to really get into make connections to the leadership circle of the CIE and have used that as your community as well. In addition, as a gold member, you have exploitation rights for internal and external use, and that's specifically relevant if it's necessary, for example, in product guidelines or to include reproductions of CIE publications and CIE standards in order to describe products. So that's also possible as a gold supportive member. On the process, CIE supportive memberships, it's impossible to note that this is possible in addition to a membership at the local level. Normally, companies are also members of CIE national committees, and that's the first way of communicating and getting information. The process to become a CIE supportive member is as follows. There are application forms which are available on the CIE website. The supportive memberships are an official membership category, as I've said. That's important to know, and this is also why they are actually referred to in the CIE statutes, and that's why the supportive membership status gives you access to the divisional and to the, for example, General Assembly meeting, to which you are invited as a supportive member through this status. And this very official status also makes it necessary, or it makes it important for us to have some quality assurance. This means that all of the applications need to be supported by the national committee of the specific country where this company is based, or where the application comes from. And there is also a formal approval process of the CIE governing board. The supportive memberships fees, as valid in 2025, at the moment is for a basic supportive memberships 800 euros, the silver supportive membership is 4,000 euros, and the gold supportive membership 8,000 euros at the moment. And finally, I would like to close with a summary of how CIE members and companies can make best use of the CIE and link to the CIE. All members, as I've said, can buy CIE publications at a substantial discount, almost 70%, from the CIE webshop, which you easily find directly on the CIE website. You are invited to join trainings, tutorials, conferences, use them for your networking purposes and learning purposes, and that's possible for members to do it at a reduced CIE member rate. As I've mentioned, professional support networks are important, and they can, I think, also be important to the success of a company. So you're welcome to use the learning and exchange opportunities the CIE offers. It's very easy to stay informed and get involved on the basis of our CIE quarterly newsletter. The newsletter always includes new and upcoming CIE publications. It includes relevant CIE and external events, which we think is of importance to the community. And it's easy to follow and join CIE's work in technical committees. We also publish calls for experts for new technical committees that are established in the CIE in the newsletter. You're welcome to connect to us on LinkedIn and extend your own reach and impact. We are also reposting interesting news from our account. And of course, you're welcome to maximize the benefits of linking to CIE also through becoming a CIE member, by using the promotional value that it can provide to you, by having a direct link to the CIE leadership at divisional and global level, by getting new publications free of charge, depending on the status, of course, using it as gaining early insights into CIE's work by accessing and commenting on drafts, and also by using parts of the CIE published foreground in your own documentation as it might be necessary. And this is all from my side at the moment. Thank you for listening, teşekkürler. And I will hand over to Banu again.
Okay, thank you a lot for this nice presentation. I think it will be better if we take all the questions and or contributions at the end. So now I'd like to introduce Peter Thorns. Peter Thorns has worked in Thorn Lighting and Zumtobel Group since 1985, where he has had a number of roles, including electronics research and development, manufacturing, software development, photometry, optical design, and lighting applications. He is the current Vice President Standards for the CIA, Chair of ISO TC 2074, and is involved in a large number of ISO, CIN, and BCI committees. He is the chair of the UK Lighting Industry Association Building Regulations Technical Committee and of the Lighting Europe Working Group on Value of Light. He is a chartered engineer, a fellow of CIBCA and the CLL, and an associated editor of the academic journal Lighting Research and Technology. And now the title of the presentation is CIA Turning Research into Best Practice. Thanks again, Peter, again to be with us, and the floor is yours.
Thank you for the invitation. So yeah, one of the things about CIE is it covers such a wide breadth from academics and researchers to industry bodies. And somehow you've got to turn all of the information that comes in at one end into something that we can use at the other end. And for this, I'll skip the first couple of slides because Diana has done them. So we have research, and research can come from a variety of places: academia, universities, institutions, certain institutions, for example, the Royal National Institute for the Blind or cancer research or whatever, will also produce research which can then feed in. We have industry, which will do its own work, and governments, which will sponsor research. So all of these are coming in and becoming part of our knowledge base. But somehow we have to direct that information to give us information that we can use. And for CIE, information we can use within the lighting area. So we have our research strategy. And for the research strategy, it gives us a compass. And we have some overarching themes. So digital transformation. So metrology, science and industry is more and more driven by digital technology. It will get more and more driven by artificial intelligence. It has been driven by digital sensors, etc. How do we use those? How do we control? How do we measure them? How do we make sure things are calibrated correctly? And one of the other overarching themes is inclusive, equitable lighting. So effectively, how can we light for everybody? If you look at standards, they tend to light for an average person. But there's not really that many average people about. So how can we make lighting more inclusive to give suitable spaces for everybody? And we sort of broke those overarching themes down into topical themes. So advances in measurement and calibration. How can we ensure the instruments we use and the measurements we take are correct? And now that we're talking about integrative lighting, so IPRGCs, the non-visual receptors, how can we start measuring and setting things up so that we can look at the impact of what we're doing on non-visual effects? And of course, integrative lighting, how can we understand what lighting does? We now understand lighting is much more than vision. It actually has an impact on our health and well-being, our circadian impact, all sorts of things. So how can we actually understand how to do this, what the impacts are, how we can make sure they're healthy? Then we look at the ecological effects of exterior lighting. We can no longer just use light. We have to think about the impact of light on the environment and ecology, because it's becoming more and more important. So how do we produce good quality lighting, because lighting is for people, but good quality lighting that respects the environment? Then we get photobiology for agriculture and aquaculture. So as populations grow, we need more food, we need and we have less land to grow it on, partially because populations grow, urban areas grow and take us from that farmland, partially because we have climate change, and climate change is having a big impact. So how can we use light to make more food and to help with the development of food and fish aquaculture? Looking at the use of light, how do we make sure it's safe? We have lots and lots of discussions about whether light is safe, whether we're using it in the right way, whether it's safe for all people in the world, so children as well as adults. And then the final one, how do we measure, perceive, model colour? So how can we make sure that colours appear correct? How can we actually plot a colour space that shows where they appear within our model? And then how can we use that in the real world? So we have this research strategy that tries to direct what we need to know to help us develop lighting. And the research strategy is also done to support the United Nations development goals. So there are development goals, and you can see the ones that the research strategy effectively covers. So we're trying to build it in to all of these things. And if something is being done that supports the research strategy, the CIE can give a letter of support. So it can support any research work and say, this work fits in with the CIE strategy, it is required, it's necessary, and hopefully that will help open up funding streams. So we have this research. Partially that will get published in academic journals, so Lighting Research and Technology. It will be published in proceedings. One of the things about research is, if you do it in isolation, it doesn't really work. You need to mix with people and discuss with your peers and say, this is what we did, but you did that, and how can we fit them together? So conferences are a wonderful thing to do that. So CIE holds conferences. The next one is in Vienna this summer. And effectively, it gives you a chance to mix with all the people that are doing similar things. Find out what's happening, find out how you can think together, perhaps work together, understand what's going on. Because one of the problems with research is it's quite difficult. We have diverse goals. People are trying to research slightly different things. We have different methods. People are using slightly different methods because the outcomes they want will be slightly different. The way they're going about it is slightly different, and they will use different metrics. How do we measure what we're trying to prove? You then get your test subjects. So it's quite common now that test subjects are quite young. If you do academic research, you have a big pool of students, and that helps. So you have different test subjects depending what you're measuring. You then have how do you report it all? And because of all these differences that are going on, you can get what appear to be inconsistent results. They may be consistent, but you can't necessarily tell that fact. So one of the things CIE tries to do is produce recommendations that say, if this is what you're researching, these are the things you should consider, these are the things you should report. To try and produce things that we can compare across different research. And they also say, and this is how you describe things. So I didn't put the international lighting vocabulary in here, but obviously the ILV is important because it gives us a common vocabulary so that if we're talking about a concept, we're all using the same words. But because we've got all this research, and it sometimes is difficult to make it all fit together, somehow we need a filter to make it understandable. And that filter is the CIE. The CIE will have a technical committee, and that technical committee will have experts that are looking at all of the different things that are going on and trying to achieve a consensus, a united opinion on what we know. What can we actually take as being factually correct? Equally, it's important, what do we not know? So where are the gaps? Even if we know things, we then have to work out what we can do with that information. How can we apply it? And some parts we may not be able to apply, so that we then look at, to apply it, what more information do we need? So there's these things that the CIE Technical Committee will do to effectively make use of all of that research in a unified way. And Diana mentioned some of the types of reports we'll do. We'll have a technical report, and that will contain sort of the agreed knowledge and experience within a specific topic. And it could have recommendations as how it could be used, recommendations of what we need to do more. It could get embodied into a standard. Now, all documents don't become a standard. And actually, one of the problems with a standard is standards don't use normal vocabulary, because words have specific meanings. They actually are very stilted in the way they use language. So they're very careful about whether they say shall, whether they say should, whether they say could, because these mean specific things. And standards try to get rid of any ambiguity. So all technical reports won't become a standard, but they can become the background for a standard. And this is an example of some of the technical reports. So reference spectrum for calibration of photometers. When we do calibration, we have a reference light source that we use. We used to use HID lamp technology. When we moved to LED, some of those reference light sources didn't really work anymore because the spectrum were noticeably different. So we had to come up with new reference light sources to allow this to happen. Like I said, how do we make things inclusive? So lighting for older people and people with visual impairment. How you see the world will change depending on your health and sort of where you are, especially in life. As you get older, the world will change. Even if you don't recognize it has changed, it will have. And then, of course, I mentioned the environment and ecology. How do we control light so it goes in the right place? Because light is for people. If there's no people there, there shouldn't be any light there. Then we get standards. So standards effectively document rules, guidelines, and characteristics. So they're based on consolidated results of science, and they give metrics, agreed metrics. Their aim is to effectively give you something you can measure against. So a degree of order with the common and repeated use, rules, guidelines. So you've got something you can measure against, and you can say, I used this standard and this was the value. People then understand what they're looking at. So standards are very important, but like I said, they tend to be written in a way that isn't necessarily normal language. And CIE, in its own right, is a standards body. So CIE works with ISO, IEC, CEN, CENELEC, but actually CIE can publish a standard as CIE. So we have CIES 26, which is looking at the non-visual effects. We have the V-Lander curve, which is human eye response curve during day conditions. We have the V-Lander curve at night, scotopic. We also have the IPRGC, the intrinsically photosensitive retinal ganglion cells, that are not necessarily to do with vision, but we have a response curve for that now. And then you can get joint publications such as the ISO CIE standard, which is looking at photometry. How do we do photometry? How do we make sure the way we do photometry is the same across lots and lots of laboratories? So CIE actually has a very close working relationship with the ISO TC274 committee. The TC274 is the Light and Lighting Committee, and it tends to be predominantly lighting application. So if you were going to split it, IEC tends to do sort of product and ISO tends to do application within lighting. So we work closely with IEC on product type information such as flicker metrics or sort of the safety aspects from the light. And then we will work with TC274 on standards for energy and lighting application. But they actually have quite well-defined sort of areas of competence. CIE does a lot of research and it's based on fundamental knowledge, whereas TC274 is based upon application. So there is this split between them, and we kind of understand there is a bit in the middle where there's an overlap. And because of that, we have a thing called the Joint Advisory Group. And whenever CIE or ISO TC274 starts some new work, before we actually start doing anything, we discuss it in the Joint Advisory Group. And CIE and ISO have a voice, and they basically say, this is something of interest or this is not really of interest. And we have three ways we can develop. We can do route one. Effectively, CIE is going to do some work. ISO says it's not really of interest. We leave it to CIE and just keep us informed. So CIE does all the work. We can have a route two project, in which case one of the organisations will take the lead, but the other organisation can attend to the meetings. So CIE could be leading the work, but members of ISO TC274 could be involved within the committee. And then we have the final route three, and route three is basically, it's of such interest to both organisations, it becomes a joint project. You will have two chairs, one from CIE, one from ISO, and the committees will actually be totally blended together. So it'll be a mixture of members from both organisations. And this effectively lets us work very efficiently together. And the outcome of this, so this is EN 12464-1, it's the lighting for indoor workplaces standard. And you can see in the normative references, there's an ISO CIE technical specification. In the bibliography, there are lots and lots of CIE documents. So the standards are based on the information that CIE is generating, because that is recognised as best practice and best knowledge. Again, this is from the Institute of Lighting Professionals within the UK, but effectively it has a guidance note on obtrusive light, and it is basically based on CIE 150. So it's taking the information in CIE 150, producing quite a simplistic guide, but effectively saying this is how we reduce light that is going to have an adverse effect on the environment. So hopefully you can see that from research into best practice, from academia into industry, CIE effectively helps all of this happen. So thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much for this very neat, nice presentation. Well, actually, if we are in contact with CIA much more as being lighting industry part, I'm sure there will be lots of collaborations by means of projects at a global scale, because always as you said, as you mentioned, one part is very much scientific, based on researchers with experimental studies from daily references, and the other part is research and development part of it, where you see the products as well. So why not to be study hand in hand at this area? And I think Fahir Gök is with us. So I now kindly want to give the floor to him, the president of Lighting Fixtures Manufacturers Association, to welcome you and maybe to have some contributions.
Thank you, Banu. Thanks a lot. First of all, I'm very sorry that I'm attending this meeting from the car. I was out of the city and then now trying to join this very valuable meeting. First of all, I'd like to thank to Diana and Peter for this very detailed and full of information presentation. I'm sure this will be very helpful for all participants, and most of them are members, the AGİD members. And I will also ask Diana to share this presentation if possible with us, and then we will publish this in our association to reach all other members. And in the meantime, let's discuss in our board, and then let's see, maybe individually and also as an AGİD, maybe we can find some solutions to be together, to collaborate, and to see what can we do in the near future. And in any case, I'd like to thank again to CIE and then as well the ATMK, and Banu, especially to you to organize all these things. And wish you a healthy, wealthy, and success day to all the participants. Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot for being with us. Well, also, we are recording today's sessions, so we will also share the links with you. And Diana, at the beginning, actually before the meeting, said that we can also share the presentation with you, but once again, maybe she will make she will say yes to this verbally. Or would you like to add anything, Diana, Peter?
I believe Peter was asking for questions.
Yeah.
May I have a question, please, for Peter?
Sure, of course, surely.
Okay. Hi, Peter. You mentioned about the safe usage of lighting, and my main research area is like manipulation of brain waves with the light frequencies, and for certain frequencies between 70 and 200 hertz, some lights can induce epilepsy. And I researched the CIE website, and I couldn't find any research about certain frequencies or the safe usage of light frequencies.
We have a document, might be CIE 249, but it's kind of around there, that talks about flicker and temporal light artifacts. And within there, it does cover discussions on things such as epilepsy. I think there are other ones, but there is work within CIE that looks at temporal light artifacts and the impacts of flicker and things like that. So it does exist. I would have to think about which division it's in, although Diana may be able to help me there. So yes, there is work going on in that, and it does exist.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, and maybe I can just add, because of course on the website you do not find every detail which is in a publication, and if you don't know every publication, that might not be visible to you. But that's also one of the benefits of having this community. We often get requests from members just writing to the CIECB address centrally, and we then try to look at your request and give it to the division that can actually answer in more detail which publications you would have to look at, because also we at the office here don't know every publication in very much detail. So Thank you for this question. I think it shows how you can use the CIE community actually to improve your own work. Yeah.
I will consider. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or contributions? I'll check also the chat box. But I think we don't have any. I may ask Rengin Hocam, maybe you would like to add something?
Yes. At first, I would like to thank you, Diana and Peter. There are very informative explanations. I think when we sent this records to our members, they will return us or CIA because your especially Peter's information on the publication was very useful, I think, and a productor should be used these documentations. Maybe they can use, but they sometimes they cannot have this documents. I think this is will rise the information publications and the other things. I hope these events, these webinars will be multiply and we can repeat as soon as I hope it will be useful all our members, not only here. I hope it's enough. What about? I saw some Sarmin, but not now here. Maybe she wants, but she is not here. I think if we don't have any more questions, I think we can close the session. And thank you for all of the participants and presenters, Peter and dear Diana. Thank you very much. If participants open their cameras, we can take a photo for the publication, our publication websites. If it is possible, sometime, or how many people can open the cameras? It's not, yes. Our members, individual members, cooperative members, some of them there are here. Yes, I think today's webinar finished, and thank you for your contribution and for your presentation, all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
We
you.
hope to see you again
See
I
you
hope so.
in
again.
Healthy Days.
Thanks
Thank
a lot,
you.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thanks,
We look
bye-bye.
forward to being in
Bye-bye.
contact.
Bye bye. Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Thanks a lot.
Teşekkürler. Teşekkürler.
Hoşça kalın.